It can't go on like this, can it?
It can.
Right, before this episode begins, we are currently pushing towards 800 subscribers, and currently only 30% of you are actually subscribed. So if you do enjoy our content and you want to see more, you want to be the first to find out about everything we're doing, please do subscribe. It costs you nothing and you can always change your mind. Let's get on to the episode.
And let's get on to the episode indeed. Hello everybody, welcome back to Fourth Fever. I hope you're in a better mood than what me and Kieran are at the minute. Look, I'm just sat here in a room, pretty dark. We are recording this in the evening, as I pretty much always do. So I just sat there alone to myself. It just makes me sound real miserable. But we've lost the game, and it sort of felt different. It just feels like something out of a different universe, actually. It's not something I've been used to in recent weeks. We are joined by Luke and Keiron for this one. Luke has, up until the victory against Morecambe, I've been pretty used to losing, and Keiron, his side, did play yesterday as well, did lose, and probably a little bit more miserable than what we did, and that's putting that politely. Good day.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty smug, to be honest, despite the fact that we haven't played. I'm just enjoying the fact that we've had 3 of the host teams play. There's been 0 goals and 11 conceded between the 3 teams of Grimsby, Newport, and Salford. So I'm just enjoying that one. Oh, and AFC lost as well. So it's just been a good week, really.
Put it like that, like we're all in some sort of relegation battle. To be quite honest, it feels nice that we're not both for a change.
Congrats, I suppose. Football brings me nothing but misery. And to be brutally honest with you, if this game was played 2 months ago when, I was talking about potential relegation and how much those kind of games at the lower end mean, I'd be a lot more annoyed. But we're near the end of the season, kind of. Final home stretch, we're, 12, 13 points clear. I looked at it just now and I don't remember the exact number. But either way, Port are staying up, Accrington are staying up, Tranmere are going down. Good day overall.
That's getting clipped. If Tranmere do go down, that's going to be a fun one to play at the end of the season. Just a 10-game, it'll be a slog for you lot now, won't it? I mean, come on.
It's the same last season.
Yeah, same last season and the season before that. Probably 18th, the season before that.
18th. Luke, give us 18th back, man. Is that what position?
Don't worry, we're on our way up slowly.
16th, as you mentioned in the just before we started recording this.
Yeah, just looking at the table.
That's his ambition. He wants to finish on top of the poor teams in the division.
You mentioned that. As long as he finish above Barrow in 16th, he's happy. This is from a team that were predicted to do very well at the start of the season.
Probably
the best League 2 team that you've probably ever seen. So
this is the position that we're at. We're just in that position where I just want to see us build those sort of foundations going into next season and at least finish on top of the
foundations to go to next season. 16th is not foundation. I'm sorry, Luke. 16th is not foundation.
No, I'm talking about actually getting some results and winning more than one game.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because the other teams around there don't win games much, very, very much at all. I just want to see us start being a bit more positive, and again, just at least be above the teams I think would struggle in the National League. So.
Yeah, well done.
16th place in League 2 is a positive finish for MK Dons' super team. Now we're gonna chuck that one on Facebook.
That is very much out of context. That is
chucking that on Facebook now.
Don't use that. They'll never have so many love messages.
Yeah, fair play.
It's anything like it's to go by.
Where's that in the Pen Fairs clip? The one where he's playing. He's playing Forza or something, and he's like, "Oh, we must have done well in this race," and they end up finishing 16th.
Easy top 3. Yeah.
Easy top 3. 16th. That is the season of Milton Keynes. Fair play. Fair
It
play.
is, yeah. Started with so much
All
promise.
ambitions will be back next season, don't you worry.
The 15th. Progress.
Progress. Yes.
Progress.
Oh, lovely. Sorry, I've still got this awful cough if I keep muting. And if
I
you
swear
watch
you've had it for the. I swear you've had
I've
it for
had
the
it
last
for like a couple of
4
weeks
weeks.
now.
Yeah,
I've
you've
had
had
it
it
for a
for
couple of weeks.
ages, man.
Yeah, and
Fair play.
there's no signs of it going away. I might need, I don't know. Might have
Can't
to
keep
get
going on like this, can it?
At the minute, it
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
I kind of wish it did. Right, shall we have a look at the 5 games from yesterday before we have a look at obviously Saturday?
Nah, I'm alright, man. We can move swiftly on.
Lovely,
Yeah,
let's
that's
do it.
alright.
Let's do it.
Look, I'd probably normally start with probably the game at Wimbledon or even at Grimsby. Do you just want to get your game out of the way, Keiron? Newport 5-0 defeat to Accrington Stanley. Huge win for them in this relegation battle. I think they're pretty much nearly there. 5 goals scored, which is pleasing for them. For Newport, oh God, where do you begin? Because I had a look at the Hearts beforehand. I think their 4th goal was pretty good. Other than that, I can't fathom that defending. And I can see why you've conceded the most in the league if that's the sort of defending that you're rocking up. Because, oh my God, that was painful.
This Newport side are potentially the most confusing I've ever known. We had that run, about a month back. We played 6 games and won 4 of them, and you go, and you know what? We can push towards top half, really show that we're a proper side of ambition. And then we produced that, and yeah, I'll be brutally honest. Again, like I said in the intro, I would have cared a lot more if it was 2 months ago. But I understand Accrington had probably a lot more to play for in retrospect. Relegation battle, we're relatively clear of it with not too many games to go. However, conceding 5 to again, no disrespect to Accrington, a team that are struggling, and they have struggled for the entirety of the season. Shambolic, man. And like you mentioned, the 4th goal was actually pretty decent. I've watched that one back a couple times just because it's a decent strike. The other 4, any other team concede those, and you're going, what is that? Like, surely that doesn't happen all the time. If you watch some of our recent games, Cheltenham, the Nick Townsend mistake, just about any other game that we've conceded more than 1 goal, there's an abundance of errors leading up to that, and that was 4 out of 5 of Accrington's goals. But yeah, let's just say I finished a 11-hour shift yesterday. Come back home, check a match on my telly, and I'm like, oh, looking forward to this because I don't have that much of an emotional interest. But if we win, feel even better. The game was off after 20 minutes because we were 3-0
You said
down
10
at
on the chat. Like I was checking my phone.
No, it was
Fair play. I've turned
no,
the game off after 10 minutes.
So it was 10 minutes. We were 1-0 down, and it was 15. We were 2-0 down. So I've turned it off after 10 minutes because I'm like, I can't be bothered. But I'm like, okay, it's only 1-0. We'll switch it back on. 2-0 as I turn it back on. So I'm like, right, we'll go off again. 5 minutes later, 2-0, poor side. Maybe we come back. Second, I turn it on. 2 minutes later, Accrington score a third. And I'm like, right, this is getting a bit pathetic now. Switch it off, get reminded there's a game, and I have nothing else to do. So I switch it back on about 50 minutes in. In goes the 4th. And at that point, I was like, right, I'll give up. So I've not watched the 5th back until earlier on this morning. And yeah, it's another defensive error. But yeah, it's shambolic. It's awful. I said in the chat I'd have a couple words to Nelson Jardine. And those said words, very plain and simple. There's 2 sentences here. 1, sort it out, or 2, get gone. There's no real in between there for me because I understand he's inexperienced. I understand he's not done much management wise, but you cannot concede 5 a game. Not to mention, again, worst defense in the division by far. Even if we didn't concede that many goals, just the embodiment of what we concede 99% of the time is our fault. So I don't know what we're doing in training, but evidently it's not working. So Jardim, do us a favour, sort it out. Or I'm not saying sack him because what's the point? We've got 10 games left and we're relatively clear. Who cares? But next season, needs something different to happen because it's not going to be this poor at the bottom end next season. I'm sure of it. So, yeah, misery. 5-star performance from Accrington. I've had many messages saying that. So to all the people on Twitter who have messaged me that, thank you. I believe it was about 5 people who messaged me it as well. God, it's so ironic, isn't it? Really? Yeah. So football.
Another 5, like we did. I know we
Yeah.
message. We normally talk about 8 to Jake a lot.
I don't know how you're gonna fit 5 into it. I don't know how we're gonna fit 5 into as many sentences though, because 8 works a lot more. Give it a go. See if you can go into the comments. See if you can make 5 related jokes. So you've got to include 5 in the word. See if you can make 5 of them. So then you have 5 jokes, and you can keep making fun of me about the 5 goals we conceded. And I've said 5 so many times that it doesn't sound like a word anymore. So Sean Wally was injured, and we still conceded 5, as I mentioned a few times, to Accrington Stanley. We play Harrogate on Saturday. I'm entirely expecting a Bryn Morris worldie and a 1-0 defeat to where I Barrow away. And yeah, kind of just call this. It's really sad because I was at this exact point last season. 10 games left, call the season off. Just end it now. And I'm 1 year later. Yeah, exactly the same scenario. Yeah, but it's fine because we had more possession.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that you didn't have a shot on target in the game either. As much as we're on about
we won't talk about the chances because weirdly we probably had enough chances to actually win that game. It's just that kind of the barn door for a lack of a better description. So yeah, get Kyle Hudlin back just for the bants. Just for
the bants. You had me concerned then.
just for the bants. And you know what? I know we can't recall Cargbo, but find a way to do it anyway, just for the bants. Get it done. Sort it out.
Yeah. I mean, some strong words there, and I think after you've lost the game 5-0, I don't think you can really complain with what you said there. To the greatest respect of Accrington, yes, obviously they wanted it more. It's a cracking win for them. Although they have scored, compared to the teams around them, they have scored obviously way more than what they've done. But you can never lose a game 5-0 and never be happy with it and pick out any positives from that. And that was certainly one of them. Nelson Jardim, I was unsure of the appointment in the summer. It was certainly a big gamble, and I'm even more disappointed now, to be honest, as much as you are.
I just got to mention, by the way, you mentioned how good Accrington's goal scoring record is compared to the teams in the bottom end. Do you not think that's because they added 5 onto that difference?
Maybe, but even before that, they still scored, 39, which is at least 8 or 9 more compared to the other teams, probably up until where Gillingham are in 19th. So they still have
Stanley goal scoring markets of goal difference to other clubs skyrocketed at Tuesday at about 9:45. Also, I had a message from my mate 15 minutes into the game. Again, 2-0 down at this point. He was on the train home. 15 minutes into it, he was like, "Nah, not doing this. I'm gone." Yeah. And I don't overly think he regrets it.
No. Yeah, Luke, what did you take away from this one? If you could take away, well, certainly quite a bit to take away from an Accrington point of view, maybe more from a Newport as well point of view, but certainly not in a positive manner.
Oh yeah, no, it's just a case of this is just Accrington, doing their utmost to make sure that they're in the division next season. And I mean, fair play to them. They've gone and done it in a very major way. They're starting to pick up the odd result here or there, and given that they've already got that a reasonable points gap, that should be them safe, assuming they get 1 or 2 more results and the other teams start to sort of don't suddenly pick up and go on ridiculous runs or anything like that. From a Newport perspective, I mean, for most of the goals, it looked like the defense like had those beer goggles on the whole time, where you can't really see where you're going. That's kind of what it felt like defensively, aside from the fourth goal, which was actually a decent one. But no, I think the only silver lining with Newport is just season's over anyway. But for them, it doesn't really matter all that much. But yeah,
I'm rapidly
there
falling
won't
out
be-
of love with football. I just
You
wonder
sure
what's
there-
the point anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had John Coleman on the pod.
I mean, look, he's out of contract in the summer. I can tell you now, it doesn't look like Gillingham are gonna give him any more time past the end of the season. So it could be a name for you. Yeah, I mean, I think we've spoken enough about this, to be honest. I think it's defending that you probably won't even see at a public. I think for some of that, one team wanted that on the night, and it was Accrington Stanley. For the most part of it. Right, okay, let's have a look at the games that actually meant a little bit at the top in the table. Let's go to AFC Wimbledon. I'm sure Luke was a big fan of this one. It's another home defeat for them. This time losing 2-1 at home to Cheltenham Town. Matty Taylor, he's a striker that's scored pretty much goals wherever he's been, with the winner on 79 minutes. It's another home defeat for AFC Wimbledon, and in a sort of vein of form which is a little bit inconsistent. I mean, probably a little bit more than inconsistent, actually. Just the one win in 6 for them, and they have played to their credit, they have played the likes of Notts County, which they did win, and likes of Bromley, Colchester, and Fleetwood at times can give anyone a game. But then they've also gone and lost to Morecambe in that time. We know that Cheltenham are a decent team as well, but I mean, I'm just still looking at the clip. Is it the PSV fans? I think they're at Arsenal tonight. I thought that was great from them rocking up to the game, see them bouncing along. It's a really good win on the road for Cheltenham against a side that don't lose many at home. I make that their fourth league home defeat of the season. I could be wrong. It's neither their fourth or fifth. It's a really good win for Cheltenham, you got to say.
Oh, it is. And I think for AFC, it was just one of those days. They've had so many chances, but just haven't had the quality to, actually get one on target. It was 17 shots, only 2 of which were actually on target. And, they had very reasonable chances that they definitely should have done more with. But at the end of the day, when Cheltenham had their chances, they scored them. And, obviously that's why they've won the game. Also, fair play for that header. Headed backwards. I can't remember who scored it for Cheltenham, but that was a lovely goal from a set piece. I'd still expect AFC to probably bounce back at least a little bit, certainly more than that. But it is still a wasted opportunity. That was a game in hand that they had on a couple of teams above them, and it now means they've got to do the hard work and get back up into the top 3 the hard way.
Yeah, looking at the next 2, they played the 2 teams from the Cumbria area. They go to Carlisle next, and they're at home to Barrow after that. So I think probably from a Wimbledon perspective, you're probably looking at 6 points. I think you probably got to at this stage. Keiron, you said that before we started the pod, you wish you was a Cheltenham fan.
Yeah. This is entirely based off of this season, out of the fact that it's Michael Flynn's good old Barmy army. It may as well be a Newport second side. Joe Day is unreal in goal somehow.
He's got a monster of a kick on him when I watched him the other week.
Again, somehow, because I used to play a fun game called Joe Day Kick Roulette when we were in when we were watching it, and basically we would all just say and make the call of where's he gonna kick this? Is it gonna go somehow still on the pitch, or is it gonna go straight out? We all would usually say straight out, and that would be the right answer. But yeah, he's an unreal little keeper now somehow. They're good, aren't they? They're not like playoffs good because they're very similar to Fleetwood in the way that they can't really build too much of a run together, despite the fact obviously they had that good patch and they're kind of still in a decent one. But I think that start of the season, it's kind of difficult to bounce back from that. But yeah, good enough to secure mid-table easily, top half, and I think there's a genuine project there that Cheltenham can build on, and no more so than getting a win against one of the best home form teams in the division. It's a really impressive result, and I also watched that header. Also, can't remember who scored it, but yeah,
Ashley Hay.
it was a very very impressive header. But no,
Actually,
credit to
hey, found it.
Yeah.
it was Ashley Hay who scored it, guys. Anyway,
I didn't say before.
yeah.
Who did?
We're a really, really good goal from our Ashley Hay to get the win over Wimbledon. And I love when Wimbledon lose for the sheer reason that every time Luke has to talk about them, he has a little bit of a grin on his face.
You got to.
No.
Always a
Anything
bit of fun.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can't really argue too much about what you said with Cheltenham there. I think they'll certainly be going for it. I think, with 10 games to go, they are 7 points adrift. I think there's still a little bit to make up. And to be fair, looking at the sides above them, you fancy a couple of them just that little bit more. But they've certainly had some very good spells, certainly this season, especially recently. Picked up some very good results, and that's another one. I think they've probably done better than maybe what a few have expected them to do, because it looked pretty bleak going into the season, and you probably just looked at it. With Michael Flynn coming in, yes, all right, he's a decent League Two manager. Maybe with a fair few players that he knows, obviously from his Newport days.
Careful with your words here, Luke. Not Luke, Jordan. How am I getting you too confused? Okay, careful with your words, Jordan. I've got your name confused with Callum, with Jake, and now with Luke. Right.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. Sorry, Callum.
Sorry, Callum and Jake also.
Yeah,
and Luke as well.
Yeah. I think probably the only downer I think for Cheltenham now is the fact that it looks like they've lost Luke Young for the rest of the season, which has been who's been one of their more consistent forms. I think they've lost someone else as well. I can't remember their name at the top of my head. So pretty big players there, especially in Young, who I've been really impressed by this season at times. But you can't really argue with a result like that. Very good. A result that wasn't very good was Grimsby Town. I
thought you were going to somehow divert back to Newport, then.
Yeah, a result that wasn't very good was Newport County. Yeah, just the 5 goals conceded. We didn't concede 5. We conceded 2 to Notts County. I thought that it was a game of 2 halves, to be quite honest. I didn't really want the referee to blow his whistle for half-time, because especially for the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half, I thought we were really on top and we had a couple of chances. I think we probably could have done with testing the keeper more, especially when Bass went off injured for Sam Slocum coming in. I think there was maybe an aspect that we probably could have tested him a bit more, but we're very much well on top, and I was happy with where we were first half. And then the second half, I think, is probably a factor of things. They've tweaked a few things. They've made a couple of substitutions. Alessandro Jatta got that goal. It was a scrappy goal from a free kick. He's managed to poke it in after a good initial save from right onto the bar. But I think after that, I think there's always been a feeling, the past few weeks, in the fact that when we have gone 1-0 down, we can respond and we can hit back. It just looked to me yesterday that it was just a bridge too far, to be quite honest. There was some tired legs out there, and we've dealt with quite a lot of injuries, and I worried that that's going to be the undoing of our season. Cam McJanet went off with an injury. His looked more serious compared to Jason's Van Thorson, who has probably been our best player last few weeks. He looked like he had a bit of a knock. I think you probably just got to look at the bench and you see that the lights, the different quads in there. We're naming a lad from the academy on ours. Notts County are naming David McGoldrick on their bench. So the different levels are there to see. McGoldrick came on in the 70th minute, and he got the second goal in the 88th. And I think it's just one of those goals where you just got to put your hands up. It's an unbelievable goal from him, and I expect nothing less from a player like him. If I think he could still play Championship if he really wanted to. I honestly, what's he now, 37? I think he's that good. And it's his first game for a little bit as well. I think he's been out for the past 5-6 weeks or something as well with an injury. You sort of knew that was probably going to happen when he came on, but Notts certainly were a much better team in the second half, and they took their chances and they picked up a win. As much as the defeat was disappointing, I was more encouraged yesterday. We've had spells this season where we've been massively hit hard with injuries. I think you could probably argue now that this one's even worse than what we had at the start of the season, because that was ridiculous. Even worse now because there's 10 games or so left and we're very much in the running, and there's some big games coming up, and we're pretty much missing most of our key players. Honestly, it takes a Danny Rose injury for the whole thing to completely collapse, because he is our only striker at the minute. But I don't think, if we do miss out on the playoffs, let's say we finish like 8th or 9th or something like that, that should not be seen as a failure by any stretch. This has certainly been a season in which, we've built ground as a football club. We've made significant progress, and it's been a season to be proud of, whatever happens from now, especially the last few games. I didn't want to be too hard on the players, because the last few weeks, they've been very good. They've been very good. It was just one of those nights where probably just a bridge too far. We dust off and go again Saturday against a woefully out of form Newport side. So I can't really. I was more encouraged last night than angry. I mean, look, I was obviously disappointed. I don't like losing. Certainly some good aspects in that. Gezatori in particular, the Faroese lad we signed, made his debut, played 60, somewhat ran his race after 60 minutes. But I'll tell you what, if for his first game in English football for a professional setting, he didn't look out of place at all. He showed some nice touches. He wasn't afraid to get his foot in. He just looked really calm and composed on the ball. When he did have it, and he broke up play quite nicely. Yeah, disappointing, but look, it is what it is. And just to the people that thought it was a good idea to abuse David Artell at the game, after the game, like we've got some God-given right to beat Notts County, with that being our first defeat in 9 games. First of all, touch grass. I probably wouldn't touch it on the Blunder Park pitch, because there ain't any, to be quite honest. And second, if that's your attitude, don't come. Like we don't need people like you. And you can hear in his post-match how much that did hurt him. So that was a downer. But yeah, we don't need it. We don't need it at the minute. I think most fans are certainly right behind him and certainly see what we're doing. And it's all been very positive at the minute. But yeah, it happens. Notts County are a decent side. I didn't think they tested us that much actually, but they got the goals, where it mattered, and they picked up 3 points for them. Probably what was needed, because I've had a few rocky results. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
Well, yeah, exactly. Notts had had 3 games without a win at that point. So, I mean, it was an important game for both sides anyway, but you add that factor in for Notts, and, it's that extra little motivation of, right, we need to actually put this right now before we start falling away. And, they didn't exactly start the game overly well. As you said, I think Grimsby probably started the game the better. But as time went on, I think Notts probably regrouped a little bit, and half-time is the ultimate time to, regroup, get yourselves going. And they've come out second half, and, they've a side like that has quality, and it is going to come through at some point in the game. It's going to come, especially if you've sort of missed your chances already. So it's a very, very crucial result for Notts. I don't think it's going to put too much of a dampener on things for Grimsby, to be honest, because the winning run had to end at some point, realistically. And it's a very respectable place to very respectable opposition to lose to. So yeah, I think it's one of those. It's big for Notts, but not too bad for Grimsby.
I'm more worried about our injuries, if anything. That is the one thing I'm really worried about more than anything.
I think if you had some grass on the Blundell Park pitch, you wouldn't have to worry about so many injuries. But yeah, it's I entirely mirror what Luke said. It's a good side to lose to, despite the fact they weren't exactly in the greatest of form. Don't think you should be too disheartened by it. The fact you're even in the running at this point, given where you were this time last season, is phenomenal in itself. So, yeah, get some grass on the Blundell Park pitch, and top 7's on.
Hopefully so. But yeah, I'd have given an arm and a leg to be in this position at the start of the season, so I can't really complain too much against a side which obviously have better players than us, have spent more money than us,
Have a better pitch than you.
Have a better pitch than us. I don't think Salford's do. If you've seen theirs, I know I mentioned it in the other pod the other day, but yeah, there's been quite a few terrible pitches, and ours is one. That's why I think we probably prefer away games more because we are playing on probably better pitches for quite a lot of it. But yeah, I was more encouraged maybe than disappointed yesterday, but it is what it is, I guess. What I didn't like was Colchester winning again. They beat Port Vale 2-1, a late goal in that one, pretty much straight after conceding.
Get that smile off your face, mate.
I mean, that Samson Tavide goal in particular, I mean, it's a proper... He's done all right, isn't he? Like, he's sort of just taken a ball, just with strength and pace, and managed to get through. Managed a couple of neat touches and just buried it. But for Port Vale, I mean, I don't think they've lost. I don't think they've lost this calendar year, and they'll be disappointed conceding right after they've scored. In the 85th minute, where they look like they've nicked a pretty decent point right at the end, they'll be one that are certainly disappointed about. But it's another big 3 points for Colchester. It extends their unbeaten run, and 4 straight wins in a row. And yeah, I don't think anyone's going to want to play them in a minute. Bloody hell.
Well, yeah. I mean, this was a game between the two toughest sides to beat in the division. Statistically, I think now they've both lost 7 games each, and that's it in terms of league fixtures. And to be fair, I think both sides actually created decent chances, and there probably could have been more goals in the game. Despite the XG saying it's lower things, I think you can look at you can physically see that the chances created there were actually quite good for both sides. So it really could have gone either way. But it was just a case that Port Vale did really well to, get themselves back in, and then it's just that one moment of switching off, and Colchester have capitalised, and ultimately, that's given them the result. And I mean, it is disappointing for Port Vale, but I do think, I'd expect them to have that bounce back ability as well. Like I was saying with AFC, these sides are at the top for a reason. They're not suddenly going to go on outrageous losing runs unless you're 15 points clear and you're Walsall. But it's just one of them, isn't it? I think all of these results are important at this stage, obviously, but Colchester just had that little bit more in them on that occasion.
Just looked at it. Colchester are 12 games unbeaten, if I've counted it right. So the last time they lost a league game, why did I have to look at it? The last time they lost a league game was against Accrington Stanley, right? But since then, they beat Bromley, drew to Harrogate, 3 wins on the bounce, 3 draws, and now 4 wins on the spin. That is, that's an unreal run. And again, we mentioned Port Vale. They haven't lost this calendar year in the league. Just ignore the FL Trophy game. Who cares? But yeah, it's 2 good sides, as Luke said. I feel like I don't even need to be on this podcast because Luke's basically saying every single word I'm going to say. But
sorry.
Yeah. Colchester are good. Tavide is good. And top 7's on. Get it done.
I'll be honest with Port Vale, though. I just feel like some of their results, I just feel like the fact they've been unbeaten for 2025 so far, I mean, I find it quite mad. Because I just get the opinion that I just don't think they've been that incredible.
I mean, you look at some of their results. So
yeah, and that's what I'm looking at. And I think
a draw to Harrogate, a draw to Tranmere within this calendar year. That unreal game against Swindon, a 0-0 to Cheltenham. They're not fantastic results when you consider the quality Port Vale have. League 2, what a fun division.
It certainly is. For one reason or another, it's an awful division this year as well. I know we've mentioned that a few times. But yeah, I think Colchester are all right. And
Yeah.
it's worry. It's kind of. I'm worrying. I'm looking at it from a Grimsby fan. I know we play Colchester and Crewe in a very short space of time. I think right at the end of the month. I think they could be huge, and I'm not looking forward to those games. But we've got Salford and Newport to play beforehand. Let's have a quick look at Salford before we look at the games at the weekend. Very quickly, they've lost again. They've lost 4-0 at home to Chesterfield. Look, if there's any crumbs for comfort, Keiron, at least you're not. Yes, they didn't concede for Salford, but there was another side that got hammered on the night.
But to be fair, they had a red card 24 minutes in, and we still lost by worse than Chesterfield or a better opposition. No disrespect to Accrington Stanley.
Yeah, they had a red card, and you're probably playing against better opposition, in which when they're on it can score goals. I know I've been saying it for a while, but yeah, a lot. Adelakin, straight red card. He misses the game at Blundell Park this weekend, thank God. So there's that part to it. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's really much there for Chesterfield. Maybe, I mean, look, who knows if they can maybe do a Doncaster. I think it's still a bit too much to ask, but it's back-to-back victories for them. I won't mention who they beat, last time out before this one. Yeah, but it's another defeat for Salford, and this form is certainly worrying. It's more relegation form than it is playoff chasing promotion form at the minute, and there's certainly question marks all round. I think probably with quite a lot of aspects with them at the club at the minute.
Well, yeah, I mean, with Salford, I think it's just they struggle to deal with adversity in any kind of way, shape, or form. To be honest, they had a couple of chances before that red card that were reasonable. They could have got themselves ahead, didn't. But fair enough. They were in the game at that point. My problem is more just the fact that after the red card, they just totally collapsed. They're just a total chocolate teapot. Chesterfield have turned up the heat, and Salford have melted. There was just nothing to them.
Like that. I love that.
I'm muted.
Thank you very much.
That was unreal. Fair play. A chocolate teapot. I'm using that.
But yeah, it's just the way that they've collapsed, because sometimes you can see teams, they get a red card. It's like, okay, we're going to have to defend a little bit now, and we're just going to have to shut up shop and hope we can get a point. But they just didn't really enough. I think Chesterfield sort of walked all over them in the end. Good result for Chesterfield. Don't think it's going to do all that much. I think it's too late for them to make any kind of playoff charge or anything like that. But it's just a nice result to show they're still there.
Yeah, I agree.
They are still playing League 2 football, aren't they? But yeah, we won't mention who they beat before absolutely thumping Salford. Yeah, it's kind of a meaningless game in the grand scheme of things. Albeit Salford 6 points off the playoffs, I feel very similar to the likes of Cheltenham. There's a lot of teams you probably fancy over Salford to do it. But yeah, it's I saw a few people calling for Carl Robinson's head after that, and I disagree with that for the sole reason of you look at where they finished last season compared to now. It's Salford also. I've said this word I think about 4 times. They're also a project to that kind of extent. They've got you look at their squad. There's a decent poll there. There's a decent attraction for players to go to it. Give the manager time. It's not gonna switch around overnight. I think they have a good foundations to lay on to next season. But that being said, not that Cook's being called for at Chesterfield. It's the same thing. They're also a bit of a project. I didn't expect them to really fight playoffs this season. Just solidify themselves as a League 2 side, which they've done.
I swear to God, if Salford sack Robinson just before the weekend again, I'm going to lose my head. I've had enough of playing teams who decide it's a good idea to sack their manager right when we've got them next. Because that's happened at least 3 times this season. And it's getting boring. I hope that's not the case. And I think they'd be quite stupid enough to do so, actually. I get that form hasn't been great recently, and there has been factors to that. But yeah, pretty much they was in a similar position to what we were last season. Just a little bit better, but not much better. I think they were one of the poorer sides we played last season. So yeah, there's that. I did expect a little bit. I know you mentioned about Chesterfield. I did expect a little bit more from them personally. I get this, solid foundations to really steady themselves as a League Two side, but I think they had more than enough quality to at least make a charge towards the playoffs. And worth a lot of it, I think there has been factors like injuries and a lot of inconsistency has really hampered their season. So I think 14th. I mean, they'll certainly look to go again. I think they'll certainly throw more at it next season. But yeah, I think they're very much a League Two club next year. I don't think they're very much in the mix. Shall we have a quick look at the games for this weekend? Shall we? Should we have a look at what Newport are going to do against Harrogate? I mean, you pretty much summed up pretty quickly. You're probably going to lose, and Bryn Morris is going to score a belter. So yeah,
there's also going to mention tomorrow. Bromley going to beat Walsall, and that's all my prediction for that game.
Yeah, well, there you go. Bromley against Walsall, and probably I'd agree. Yeah, I fancy Bromley here. I think they drew, was it 2-2 last time? I think Walsall scored right at the end to deny Bromley victory there. So they have proved they can. You'll be seeing a lot of Bradford fans, I'm sure, whipping out their Bromley tops from underneath their Bradford ones for the game tomorrow night, I'm sure. But I honestly do fancy Bromley here. I'm not sure. I was really not impressed with Walsall last week. I thought they had one game plan. It was pretty much hoof it and hope. And they were pretty much outplayed by us last week. So it took me by surprise, but also didn't, because it was they also played true to their form, I guess. I think Bromley will come away with 3 points here. I really do.
Well, statistically, you'd be right to at least hint at that. Walsall have only won one of their last 6 away games. So for me, I think this is a bounce back result or a bounce back fixture for Bromley as well. I do think it will be tight, but I am leaning towards a Bromley victory on this occasion.
Yeah, perfect. Crewe Doncaster, this is a big game, I tell you what, at the top end of the table. Of course, a win for Doncaster, it moves them. It keeps them in the top 3, let's say. I was trying to work out what it was there. A win for Crewe will be massive. They'll be on 59 points, and they could go above Port Vale with victory. I just think Doncaster would be too strong for them, to be quite honest. I know that Doncaster have had a couple of iffy results. I know that they won 3 in a row before they lost to Bromley and they drew with Swindon. I just think, with where Crewe are at the minute, I just think they'll be too strong.
Yeah. Can't disagree.
Yeah, I'm thinking Doncaster. When you're just looking at the injury list alone, I think it's taken a big toll on Crewe. And again, Doncaster are a side that, although they can have the odd poor result, they don't tend to do it like consistently. They will bounce back, and I would expect them to do exactly that in this fixture.
Yeah. Swindon Cheltenham. I'll tell you what, I can see this being a very good game of football for one reason or another. I'm not sure what you think. I won't be surprised if it's more tight, maybe, but I just feel like there's something about this one in which there could be a little bit in it for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure what to make of it for this one. I know obviously Cheltenham had a big result in the midweek, but before that, their last 4 had kind of gone without a win. Swindon have started pulling off a couple of big results as well. Could go either way. I think I'm maybe slightly leaning towards Swindon, but I think this is a very, very difficult one to predict.
It's a difficult one to predict. I mean, every League 2 game's difficult to predict, isn't it? Let's be blunt. But it's one I can't quite, lean towards either side incredibly strongly. But I'm just gonna go out of run of form, and despite Cheltenham, like Luke mentioned, picked up a really good win. I'm gonna go Swindon on that one, and the Ian Holloway top 7 promotion push will be fully back in swing.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Again, nothing against Swindon. I can't
So we'll
separate
against
them.
Ian Holloway.
I honestly can't separate the two sides. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a draw. I know how much you like my draws. Or I like my draws, and that sounds really. Moving on. Not what you. That's not what you think. Right. Accrington. Jesus. Accrington Gillingham. I don't know. Oh, I've lost all concentration now. Oh my god,
That was terrible.
that was
It-
I don't know what I was thinking there. That is so bad. What am I doing?
I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. If you didn't mention it, I would have just skipped over it. But then you mentioned it. The cogs in my brain started going.
Bloody hell. Right, Aki Gillingham. It's not going to be. I don't think this will be a great game. Quick move on.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'll take over for a second. I don't know. I think this again is one of those. I don't think Accrington are going to be that good again twice. So I think they're going to have a much slower sort of performance. Gillingham still haven't won away since 14th of December. I'm not going to remind you who that was, but I think Gillingham pick up this one. Just about. I can see you two smiling still, but I'm gonna say Gillingham win this one.
Well, I'm so glad I've got a mute button on my microphone because I've just been giggling to myself for the past 2 minutes. You know what? I'm only backing Accrington because of how many goals they scored against us. Why not have a little bit of a run towards the end of the season? I think even though you say they may as well be safe now anyway. Just out of the grand scheme of things, I think probably the target for any team in this part of the table is probably 40 points. And I mean, if they're to draw, they'll get that. And you can near enough say, yeah, they're staying up 100%. Not that you can't say that now anyway. But I'm gonna lean towards an Accrington win, and it's also because Gillingham to fit towards Jordan's comment just now. Gillingham are pants.
I'm really sorry if you. Yeah, look, I think if you're Accrington, it's another good opportunity for 3 points. Gillingham really are a great side, and I probably agree. I think they'll have the wind in their sails. With Accrington, I think that they've done them the world of good. 3 points there, so yeah, I'm going to go for an Aki win. I think they'll get one over the Gills. Bradford City, they host Tranmere on their quest for promotion. Tranmere have picked up last few weeks, picking up 3 points. Yeah, they picked up 3 points last week against Bromley, and they picked up 5 points out of a possible 9 against Port Vale and Grimsby. So 2 decent results there. Obviously, Bradford, they're at home. They could have gone top of the table last week, didn't take the opportunity after losing to Gillingham, but they are at home, and I think it's pretty hard to not look past that. I think Bradford will win this.
Yeah, I'm pretty much agreed there. I think Tranmere are a tougher proposition than they would have been a few weeks ago. So I think it will probably be a narrow game, but especially with it being Bradford's bounce back result after the Gillingham game, I would expect Bradford to get the job done on this one.
I think again, Tranmere picked up on what has been a terrible season, in the past few weeks. But I think Bradford is, especially away, just a step too far. They'll be looking to get a win, and given how good they are at home, they set a club record, didn't they, for most consecutive home wins. And I think they're going to add to that come Saturday.
Yeah, the form at Valley Parade has been ridiculous. And not to mention as well, Andy Crosby has got the job at Tranmere till the end of the season. I think, with those results, it's probably the sensible move, to be quite honest. So I don't think there's really many complaints there. Carlisle, they host AFC Wimbledon. We're at a point now for Carlisle where they need wins. They really need wins. And they're coming up pretty against the Wimbledon side, who at the minute are not on the greatest form in the world. But you do look at Carlisle's next 3 games, all 3 of them are at Brunton Park. I think out of the 3 games, honestly, they're at a point now where I think they've got to pick up 6 points from those 3 games. maybe five if they can, but I think they've got to be aiming for 6. It'd be difficult because AFC Wimbledon on the day can be good. Well, they're clearly a good team. Bromley are a decent team, and then MK Dons to come after that, who are not. But
We're something. I don't know what we are at the minute.
They're a football club, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't know what to think. I think Wimbledon have a point to prove, but Carlisle, I think they're at a point where they are desperate, and I think last week's result would have hurt them big time.
So as Carlisle have had a point to prove about.
They've had a point to
6
prove all
months.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm going to say draw. I actually think Carlisle will take something from this. But then again, I said they'd beat Carlisle. I said they'd beat Harrogate last week, and they went and blew it in the 95th minute. So,
I mean,
not the biggest Carlisle fan going at the minute, me.
Yeah, I mean, Carlisle's last 3 home games have all been draws, to be fair. And one thing they've got very good at is just keeping the score low in any capacity. It's all, 1-0s, 1-1s, 0-0s. Meanwhile, AFC, who are generating a lot of chances, but not necessarily having the quality to finish them. So for me, this is a very low-scoring game. I could see it being a 0-0 if I'm being totally honest. So that's what I'm going to go with. Wouldn't be surprised if AFC did nick it just with the bit of quality that they have.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Despite the fact Wimbledon are in the greatest form, I'm gonna lean it their way. I'm very much in the mindset that it will not be a goal fest, but yeah, 1 goal switch for Wimbledon, 1-0, job done. Carlisle then continue their quest for needing wins, which again they've needed for the past 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Colchester Fleetwood next. Now, if I'm looking for this from a Grimsby perspective, I'm sort of hoping Fleetwood sort of win in this one. Can I see it? No. I mean, Colchester at home, they've got the wind in their sails. I think Fleetwood would be a tough game for them, though. I don't think, they'll certainly go there with a game plan. I feel like maybe at times the both can be a little bit similar, if you know what I mean. But look, Colchester have got the wind in their sails, and I think if they're on it, they're very capable of beating this Fleetwood side. So I'm probably going to say that.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, Fleetwood are unbeaten in 4, but Colchester are just on a ridiculous run at the minute. I'm not gonna, go against them. Not just yet. Anyway, I think they're going to keep charging it at least until they make it into one of those playoff spots. So Colchester win for me.
For me, I'm going to go slightly different. I'm going to go not for a Fleetwood win. I'm going to go for a draw. I think this is very much another game that's not going to be too high scoring. And I don't know what makes me feel it, but I just feel that, you even back in Fleetwood on a good run. They're 2 sides that are also on a good recent run. Colchester, of course, drags a lot longer. But yeah, I'm going to go for a draw on that one.
Yeah, no, probably. That's what I quite like, to be quite honest. Especially when Grimsby, they're at home again on Saturday, where they host Salford City. Of course, this is a Jordan v. Jake showdown in this one for the
4th-tier fever table update, baby.
For the 4th-tier fever table. It's saying it's like we don't have Newport next week, so it'll be me against you next week, Keiron.
Gotta win so we can win the league. Gotta win it.
I'm really interested to see what side we put out. I think there'll probably be changes. Well, we're down to the bare bones at the minute, but at the same time, this is a woefully out of form Salford side. I'd love us to get back on the high horse. I think it'd be quite a tricky game now. Let's start a new unbeaten run, shall we? I'm backing us at home. I think we'll win.
Yeah, I mean, this is your bounce back result. Salford haven't won in 6. And I mean, they're showing no signs of turning that around anytime soon. So for me, I think, as you say, you've got players missing, but I still think it'll be a routine win for Grimsby.
I just like being different and saying this for Bants. A draw again? Why not?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jordan.
Realistically,
I'm predicting Colchester to drop points, but I'm also predicting you to do the same. So I'm sorry.
And if Crewe lose as well, it probably won't be the worst thing in the world, actually. So if that happened, then I'd probably be all for it, actually. Morecambe, they host Barrow, and you know what? This is another huge game. for Morecambe, especially with Tranmere winning last week there. They've opened the gap a little bit to them, so Morecambe have got a more difficult task to get out. They're at home to Barrow, not the best of sides at the minute, or have been all season, but I say that like, they haven't won their last two, one of them being a very good win at Notts County. I just feel like this is another Morecambe result. I just got that feeling it's another one in which Derek Adams will be like, right, okay, Barrow are not the best team in the league. This is one where we've got to go out and really, they're a bit like Carlisle. They've got to start winning games, and they've got to do it probably against opposition like these, with the greatest respect to Barrow. For one reason or another, I'm feeling a Morecambe win. I don't know why, but that's just where we are.
I could see it happening, but for me, I am going to go with Barrow on this occasion. I think it's a case of Barrow aren't great, but they will put away sides that are poor or out of form. And for me, I think Morecambe, in terms of quality of the squad, I think they're the weakest squad in the league. So for me, I would expect Barrow to put them away.
I'm going to lean towards Morecambe for no reason other than their run afterwards isn't very favourable. And this needs to be the one they pick up the 3 points in. They've got Port Vale, Swindon, Cheltenham and Grimsby, and then a massive game against Carlisle in the 5 afterwards. So I feel this one is probably on paper their most winnable of the lot. And I feel like very, very much mirroring what Jordan said. This will be the one that Derek Adams looks at and goes, right, this one needs to be a win, no excuse.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the other week where they played Accrington. I'm sure that was one there. They had to be banging on the drum for that game to be 3 points, and I went and got 3 points. That's just my feeling with that one. Newport up against Harrogate. Kieran, we'll start with you for this one.
1-0 Harrogate, Bryn Morris goal. Next.
I know we mentioned it earlier.
It don't bother me anymore, man. Season's been over for about 7 games.
It's a very meaningless game. Two sides that are not going down, they're not going up. A draw.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird one to predict just because there's very little meaning to it. But I mean, Harrogate haven't won any of their last 5 away, and Newport, like even though it doesn't really matter, you'd hope for some kind of bounce back after that. So
I've heard
I'm
that.
going to back Newport happens.
I'm actually going 3-0 Harrogate now because if they've not won in the past 5 games away, we're the gift that keeps on giving.
Lovely. 2 games to go very quickly. We want to try and get us under the hour. Notts County hosting Chesterfield, an East Midlands sort of derby. In this
Massive
one,
game.
it could be a very good game. Be two clubs that two well supported clubs. Both teams that can score. I think Notts County will build on their victory against us in the week, and with them being at home, I do think they'll get the job done over the Spyrites.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very tricky one to predict. I think just on the basis that, the Chesterfield attacking players have found a little bit of form with that last game, and the fact that Notts will have Slocum in goal instead of Bass probably, I'm going to go with a draw on this one. I think it's a really close one to call.
It's a close one to call. I think it's going to be an absolute goal fest, but just out of quality alone, I'm going to lean at Notts County's way.
Yeah, it has all the credentials to be a very good game of football, that one. And and last but no means least, MK Dons make the trip to Port Vale. Luke, how are you feeling about it very quickly, this one?
It's tricky to tell. I mean, obviously our performance was much improved at Morecambe, but it's Morecambe. With all due respect, Port Vale was a different proposition. I could see us putting in a decent performance. I'm not sure I could see us getting a result, maybe a point if we're really on it. But this is Port Vale's bounce back game, so I'd still expect them to win, to be honest.
Yeah, I expect MK to, on paper, play better. Play the better team. And if you look at the highlights, you go, how have they not won that? But yeah, somehow, some way, it's going to probably lean Port Vale's way, as it has for the majority of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's obviously a much sterner test, this one compared to Morecambe. And I just think, as you mentioned, this is Port Vale's bounce back game. This is a game in which they'll probably look to win it. They should be favourite to win it. And I think they will win it, to be quite honest. And that's where we're going to leave for this episode. Obviously, thank you guys for watching, as always. I'm so sorry about that Jaws comment. That was hideous. But we'll... Yeah. If you're new around here, make sure you like, subscribe if you're new. Make sure you download podcasts on Apple and Spotify. Yeah, we're back on there now, so make sure you go and follow on there. We'll see you for the next one.